Hi, I am Bosco Hernandez, and my pronouns are he and his and him, and I'm the design director here. We are the design studio, and we are in charge of the expression of our visual brand throughout every aspect of the museum. So we work with everybody, every department here, and we also work not only externally, but it all starts within the galleries, and we work with very closely with the curators, developing the themes of the exhibitions, determining the wall paint and the wall colors and the exhibition furniture, as well as the layout of the artworks. And then it goes on to the title walls and the graphics that are in the galleries, but also how they extend in our marketing and other sort of collateral and so on. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about how we get that work done, and we'll be walking you through all the different places and projects that we're currently working on. We are now in the area where we call the pinup area, and this is where we put up all the work that we have, that we are doing, and sometimes we put in work that we've done, like right now. This is our visual brand that we developed in-house by the design studio team, so one of the things that we do, and it started when we developed the visual brand, is meet twice a week, and we share the work that we're doing, and we used to sit down in this table and draw or reviews what everybody was working on. Of course, now during the pandemic, we haven't been seeing each other in real life, so we do that remotely. And I will walk you through how that's been like, and what are some of the things that we've been using to share our work and keep connected to the work that everybody's doing. A lot happened last year and has impacted the way we work in the design studio. First of all, we cannot meet in real life and be together. This is how our pinup area looked before the pandemic. This is us laughing, rubbing shoulders. Twice a week, everyone would pin up on the wall what they're working on and share it with the group. And truly, our team's success depends on that time. So in the beginning, we really didn't know what to do, but we started posting our work on Teams, this platform that we have, and it actually ended up working out fine. We learned that we could not only post at different times, but it made it a lot easier for people to provide feedback by writing comments, and it made it a lot easier to track that work and refer to it, things we've done in the past, and find them easier. The racial justice uprising after the police killing of George Floyd also had a huge impact on the work we do. These are our museum doors. And it has exposed systems of oppressions that have been in place not only in museums, but really in every aspect of our lives. And understanding how the systems operate is not always very intuitive or even easy to articulate and define. So we were asking ourselves, how do we start? How can we make a difference? And as designers, we are experts at systems. This is just an integral part of the work we do. Could we harness some of our expertise to dismantle the systems of oppression Could we harness some of the spaces for open conversations that we're so familiar, but this time to unpack this hard topics and address racial injustice? We know it's hard to break the status quo, and it's designed to go back the way it was. If we wanted to make a difference, we needed to put some real time and commitment to that work. And so we ended up setting up weekly meetings dedicated to address these topics. We call these meetings JEDI, and they stand for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. The format of these meetings basically means that each session is facilitated by a volunteer from our department. And just like our pinups, people can propose a topic they want to discuss with a group. We've had great topics that we've covered, and some of conversations have exposed the negative impact and the incredible amounts of waste we produce for shows that are only up for 3 to 4 months. We've talked, like you saw before, about images and how matters of representation. At the end, each facilitator creates a summary and defines specific action steps that we need to take. I have to say, these are some of the most rich and powerful meetings I've had in my career. And through these conversations, we've been able to create, our own digital version of pinup that has been extended to a larger group, to the whole museum. And it has opened up and made more transparent the work that we do. Now, there are plenty of challenges ahead of us, and neither us nor the institution is perfect by any means. But one of the things that I've found through this process is that the creative process in general, and unpacking some of this larger racial justice issues have to do with being able to demonstrate our curiosity, our humility and vulnerability, being able to allow for growth and being able to stretch our worldview, minimizing our defensiveness, and really ensuring action. But most importantly, it really is about building authentic relationships and trust. How we do our work is just as important as the work we do.
I'm Michelle Thomas. I'm the Design and Creative Initiatives Project Manager at SFMOMA. And so what that means is that I help designers do their best work and work with curators and artists as well. My focus is on the design studio. And so that means connecting people to the things they need, acting as a liaison across the organization, kind of distilling what the organizational needs are down to a design brief, so the designers can just hit the ground running and aren't spending so much time on laborious communication. I feel like the work of a project manager also involves naturally, organically incorporating diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, because that's not a trend, it's not a new thing, it's just something that every great team should have as part of their foundation, making sure that everybody feels like they're part of a work family, and that their moods are being kind of acknowledged, and their priorities are being acknowledged, and they can just bring their best self to work. So I'm passionate about a really boring thing. I'm passionate about systems, but systems are kind of the magic that keeps cities running, that keep huge schools running. And so if a project manager can build really effective, efficient, streamlined, easy to use, and intuitive systems, great systems should be invisible. And so if designers can, and the rest of the organization can benefit from really solid systems, I feel like that is a success, a project manager's success. But the other thing is just really being a friend. So when maybe your director has their nose in the work, or senior designers have their heads in a project, a project manager can just stay aware of what's going on in everybody's lives, not in a nosy way, but just staying aware so that you can provide mentorship or connecting to somebody who can be a mentor, or just connecting to something that a designer's been living with that has been confusing for 4 months, and you're like, is there anything you find confusing? Making way for them to ask the tough questions that might feel silly to bring up in a larger conversation, and just making space for people to express what they need.
Can you talk a little bit about how to challenge some of these structures that can be really hard to change?
Oh, that's such a great question. Especially in an arts organization, I feel like an organization like ours draws sensitive and idealistic people. That is just the nature of who works here. And so part of the challenge is taking the emotion out of work and taking the emotion out of structures so we can channel our emotion into the art content and the aesthetic content. And so I feel like the tactic that I try to use is to look at a structure and apply like a data mindset to it and say, who are we reaching? What is the optical diversity of the crowd coming to this event? What are the channels that we're using to recruit candidates for this type of role? Who's looking through that initial batch of candidates to make sure that it's to make sure that people who should really have a chance of not being filtered out. So it's kind of going into everything, every structure, every policy that we encounter at the museum or that I have visibility into at the museum, and just asking the questions, how did this policy come into place? What were the environmental factors that brought into place? Does it require adjusting now? And kind of applying a rubric for what would be just, what would be ethical, and revamping where possible. So again, like taking the kind of the anecdotal observations out of it and really taking those intuitions and applying them in a methodical way to ask tough questions and to bring about improvement in systems and structures.
Hi, I'm Rokaya,
Hi, I'm Jody.
and we are designers at SFMOMA. Today we're going to talk to you about the Namjoon Paik exhibition.
Yes, we are. Namjoon Paik was a video artist primarily, known for his video. He was sort of he's looked at as kind of the grandfather of video art, if you will. He was a transnational global pioneer, born in Korea, lived in Japan, but he was really at the forefront of all of the internet. He came up with the term electronic superhighway, broadband, I believe. And so keeping that in mind, when we approached the identity, those were some of the things we were thinking about when we started working on it.
So we started off with a bunch of different iterations for what the identity lockup could look like. We wanted to focus on something blocky, which sort of reminded us of the old-fashioned televisions that are in a lot of his work. And we just tried out a bunch of different things, keeping in mind like the idea of glitching and movement and vibration and things like that. We found a direction that we liked and started playing with different font weights. And then we decided on this medium weight, and then moving forward, we started thinking about the color palette, looking at his artwork. It's all very colorful, so that was a really fun thing to look at. But we went through a bunch of different iterations and ended on something similar to this. We had a color palette for the exhibition itself, the paint colors, and then for marketing, we went with this bluish color and an acid green. And this is the final identity.
And action. Here are some of the marketing materials we've done for Namjoon. This is the 3rd Street angled wall that is just outside the front doors of the museum, working with the TV garden image. Really an important work of his, really thinking about using works that are very immersive. This is the Wallum that's outside the ticketing desk, concentrating on what, using the TV Buddha. And these are proofs from our vendor that produced these, Barker Blue, who we work with a lot.
Here we are installing a graphic for what we call the Wallum at the ticketing desk. So when you come up from the stairs, you can see we have a Namjoon exhibit on the 4th floor.
And these are the street pole banners, proofs of the street pole banners. So also repetition of using the same images. This one is Sistine Chapel. Again, looking at immersive, bright, vibrant images. And then these are samples of the title scrim. So looking at different transparency and weights of fabric. And we'll be showing you those when we go down to the gallery. So hey, come on. So this is the scrim that we designed for as the title for the exhibition, as opposed to painting it on the wall, which we sometimes do. We're working with a curved wall behind, and we were interested in also showing the transparency and using that as a design element, since it is prevalent in his work. So there's also this sort of, what would you call it? Oscillation, if you will. Same color palette, so the green is a little bit more yellow, and it reads as a little bit more yellow with the yellow wall behind.
This is TV Garden, one of the most exciting rooms, in my opinion, in this exhibit. Usually our darker, projection rooms, we paint them trout gray, but for TV Garden, we wanted the space to feel immersive and sort of like it kept on going. So we painted the walls a dark green to match with all the plants.
We have a templated design generally for our section text. When we run them on a dark wall, we run them in white vinyl. And on lighter colored walls and white walls, they're in a black. And you'll see in another room, there was a special way we had to install it. So we'll show you Sistine Chapel and how we had to install that section. Here we are in Sistine Chapel. As you can see, it's a completely immersive experience in here. So we did not want to have the section text on any of the walls. We had to figure out where could we install the section text, where it could be read, and was not disruptive to the installation. So we came up with this idea, which is just, it's a panel, and we were able to purchase these straps. It's from a plumbing company, but they actually worked out really well. So the straps wrap around the pipe and are screwed into the back of the panel, and so it's just a free hanging panel, and that really solved the problem of how to deal with our section text.
Welcome to Close to Home Creativity in Crisis. This is a show that I worked on that opened a couple of months ago, and it's a show about 8 local Bay Area artists who were making work during the pandemic, and all of these artists were kind of grappling with rethinking how they make work, both with different time constraints and also different material constraints now that they couldn't go out into the world and make work as they usually do. And so for the title wall, I was thinking about how like our constraints as graphic designers have changed too, and so for the title wall, I proposed this idea of using basically materials that we would normally have on hand in our homes. So just like 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper and a printer. So then to make the title wall, we actually just staple gunned these sheets of paper to the wall. And yeah, I also thinking about the typography, I was thinking about kind of like the social isolation that everybody was going through, and so each little letter is in its own little house. So one other thing about this space is that the exhibition actually starts way down there, but we wanted to be able to direct visitors to the show, and so we have this wall here right out of the elevators, and then if you look down there, we usually try to unite the color between these two walls, but since I was taking all the type and putting it in individual little sheets of paper, I thought it would also be good to extend the title wall out here so there's a direct connection between these two. And so now let's go over here. We have these staff elevators here, and even though they have vinyl that says staff only on them, for some reason visitors get really confused and they always wait in front of them, but they never come. And so we decided to install these panels over them so it would be slightly less confusing because there's a whole bank of them here. But so to cover it up, we do photo blow-ups of art, and so this piece is one of the pieces in the in the exhibition, and it also looks great as the title wall.
So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so this is our redesigned bathroom signage. So when I started here, we had a men's room and a women's room, but we thought it was important to have gender inclusive bathrooms. But we also wanted to provide signage that provided a little more information. So we went through a bunch of different rounds, and then we decided that it would actually be helpful to show what was in the bathroom. So if you have like one stall versus multiple stalls, or if you want a urinal, and then also like how many sinks there are, and if it's private, and what stalls are accessible. And so this restroom signage helps give a clearer picture of what you can find in our bathrooms.
Cool.
Another fun thing that we got to work on is this family activity guide. And so this is meant as part of our family programs initiatives at SFMOMA, and it's meant to like help families visit the museum. Sometimes art can be confusing or scary, and especially with little kids, like how do you talk about these things? And so we decided to make this family guide, which is supposed to kind of break down some of those barriers and give parents, or really anybody, I think this is helpful too, like prompts basically to talk about the art. So this one is look and chat, and we're also going to work on a draw and write one that's more interactive. But this one is just 11 by 17 sheet that folds up and tells you a little bit how to use the guide, and then it opens up into all these different questions that you can use as you walk around the museum. And we wanted to make something that was like really playful and not super pretentious so that it was easy for people to engage with the art.
Hello, I'm Adalberto Charbel, exhibition designer at SFMOMA, and I'll be talking to you about the Pan American Unity mural at the Roberts Gallery. The Pan American Unity mural at SFMOMA is a mural painting by Diego Rivera for the Art on Action exhibition that took place at Treasure Island's Golden Gate International Exposition in 1940. Hosted by City College San Francisco since 1961, the mural is currently in the process of installation at the Roberts Gallery at SFMOMA. This endeavor has been a collaborative process involving project managers, conservators from Mexico UNAM and SFMOMA, structural engineers, fabricators, and designers. The exhibition design process has mediated and oversaw aspects such as placement and aesthetics, both structural and formal, along with this group of collaborators. The placement of the mural follows the intention of experiencing the artwork not only from the interior of the gallery, but from the outside at Howard Street, where you can take a peek at what you'll find inside, but most important, where you can observe the mural structure and the historic layers, such as the original framework. From inside the gallery, the mural is situated at 22.80 degrees from the wall right behind to it, allowing visitors to look at the mural painting standing in front or sitting on the Roman steps, while allocating an access for staff and a window for anyone who wants to look at the structure from the inside. The metal white flange is the most prominent element taking place on the structural design reminiscent of the installation at Treasure Island. For other design elements, such as the stanchions, access door, and window, we have integrated metal works and white flanges as a key concept to echo the mural's historic language. The color of the mural structure, gray, remains neutral to highlight and expose the mural's characteristics, both visual and structural, to the front and to the back. However, anyone who visits the museum and takes a look through the window carefully will see that certain aspects like patinas, stains, and beam labels have been embraced by the museum's design team in the same spirit of preserving layers that speak to work, installation, and history.
Okay, do you want to tell us who you are?
No, because we'll start with the,
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Amy Gray, and I'm a senior designer here at SFMOMA, and this is Contemporary Optics. Unfortunately, we can't go inside because it's being cleaned right now, but I do want to show you guys how we go from being inspired by the artwork to the actual signage on the wall. All right, this is a super glamorous designer's workspace. We actually do a little bit of like analog design here, and actually sometimes we trim paper. But one of my favorite things is our collection of swatches. We do a lot of picking out of colors using this, and we have our Pantone swatches and our paint swatches. And when we're doing a show, we move from like the computer to the analog world and back and forth all the time. And so we're selecting colors, and we're looking at these tiny little swatches to decide what the paint color needs to be for a wall or like the signage. And you know, we'll look at these little swatches and we'll think this is a good color, but we can't really tell what it looks like in real life until we order a brush out. And we have a special drawer down here.
Ooh.
Where we keep all of our brush outs. And these are these big fat panels that give us a better sense of how the color is actually going to look once we're in the gallery. Contemporary Optics is a show that's really about natural phenomena and the way light interacts and can change our perception. because of that, we really wanted color to make the most impact in that gallery. And going back to the concept of light, I was inspired by the idea of like stained glass, and like the facets that you see in one-way color tunnel also were part of that inspiration. This is where we wound up. These are the paint swatches that we wound up selecting working with the curator. And we bring it down to the gallery, we take a look in the actual lighting conditions to kind of see how the paint will actually end up looking.
Hi, my name is Sarah Choi. I'm the Senior Exhibition Designer here at SFMOMA, and I'm going to show you the model room.
This is the freight elevator?
Yes, this is the freight elevator on the Lotus side of our building.
Okay, we're in. So this is the model room. Can you tell us what happens here?
It's 1,100 square feet of space that houses all of our galleries in half-inch scale and artwork in half-inch scale as well. We have floors 2 through 7 and 2 models for our 4th floor photo.
Wow, and so you make all of these little models, right?
I do.
So Sarah, did you make this whole model room too?
I did not. The models were made, they were drawn out by my previous boss, Kent Roberts, and made by people in the crew. And these were made in our collection center before we reopened, and then they were brought here and Tetris into this room.
Okay, and what's happening on this wall over here?
These are our 2D works, Permanent Collection and Fisher Collection works, and so we keep them.
Oh, wow.
So the right side is Fisher, and the left side is our Permanent Collection works. And a lot of our Fisher works are inside the model right now. Magnetic.
Oh, wow.
And labeled. These are our 3D maquettes, mostly Permanent Collection and Fisher.
Oh my God.
So these are small ones.
Wow. So how do you go about making the little objects?
I figure out the size first and then decide on what materials to use. I just use clay, and then I use, I'll pick up materials from outside.
Do you hoard stuff
I
from?
do.
Yeah. Don't we all?
This is my workstation, and it's also where I fix broken maquettes as well.
Here are the Calder pieces. They even drift around like the real things. Oh, this is a sculpture garden.
Yeah, so we'll pull it out if we need it.
Oh, cool. Did you make those trees?
No. I think we bought those trees.
What's this construction hat for?
The what? Oh, this was when we needed to wear construction gear when the building was being built. This is our graveyard of maquettes.
Oh,
These
no.
are maquettes that are made that we no longer need anymore.
Do you get to take these home?
Yeah, you could have one.
When SFMOMA was working on the grand expansion in 2016. The bathrooms were still kind of like being built, and one time I went into the red room. Feels like you're in The Shining. And I went in that bathroom and the doorknob fell off, and I was locked in that bathroom for the longest 10 minutes of my life.
Oh, see, I can't think.
Do you want to take us to the model room?
I don't.
Oh no!
If you go to the 4th floor, you can see the seam between the two buildings, the Boda side of SFMOMA and the Snøhetta side of SFMOMA. There's a little window where you can see all the nuts and bolts and insulation between the two buildings.
The secret hallway to get access to the galleries. Oh no, oh no, ow.
Just want to let everyone know all the doorknobs are working now.
Okay.
Is it too windy?
Let's just do a test.
Seems complicated. It seems complicated. I think I'm like slightly nervous about my lack of video editing skills though.
Don't be nervous. I think it's easy.
Okay.
I think we can just put them together. We don't have to
Yeah.
do anything crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the most polished video, but it's cool.